Hey, happy Sunday to you. This is Joyce at Medusa Was Framed, and today I'm hanging with my good friend Andrew Zebrun III from the channel Andrew Zebrun III.
Hi guys.
I'm sitting here in the beautiful Fort Clinch in Amelia Island, Florida. No, I'm not in Fort Clinch. That's a picture I took of one of the star forts here near my home. Andrew and I have done a catch up before and just kind of yipped and yapped about things, and it was actually picked up by Blue Water. Thank you so much, Blue Water, whoever you are. Andrew has something to say about that. But I live in St. Augustine, Florida. He lives near Buffalo, New York, and some things happened up there that we have to be careful about how we talk about. I wanted to let Andrew talk a little bit about that. He had done one of his 2 videos a day about that and apparently got a strike for saying things. So Andrew and I chat a lot and share a lot of information, and I just thought it'd be fun to do one together. So speaking in code, Andrew, do you want to talk about what happened up in that Niagara Falls part of the world yesterday?
Yeah, you can buff high or you can buff low, and they love to buff low around here. They don't buff high ever. They're always on the low spectrum. They can't get their minds out of the gutter for some reason. They are absolutely stuck there. And matter of fact, I just had someone arguing with me about it. And I show people proof of things. I don't just tell them they're wrong. I show them why they're wrong. But this proof was unacceptable. It didn't meet their standard of proofery.
This just doesn't live up to my standards.
I was told that I should go meet the victims. Now, we both know that there are no victims, that there are role players, and there are roles, but there are no actual victims. You know, unless they actually do something dastardly, which they do dastardly things. But
yeah,
a lot of them are not dastardly at all. I mean, I remember one in not long ago in New York City where they had one of these things, and a whole bunch of people got off the subway where it occurred, and they were supposed to be hurt, but they walked off the subway and then they fell on the ground and started pouring blood on the ground.
that recent one, right?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. Like, that was so freaking obvious. Yeah.
They did it again. It's like unbelievable. I can't believe people fall for this crap.
Now, let me ask you, it happened in or near, was it a grocery store?
Yes, it was a grocery store, a well-known chain, which we won't have to name.
Yeah. But so, that's different in every state. But is there something about that chain?
No, the
No?
section of town, yes.
Oh, okay.
They held it in a racially certain color part of town. Okay, which I don't believe there should be designations like that. You know, I'm for joining the races together, not separating them.
Right. Me too.
You know, so what they did was they went to a part of town where they could find mostly a certain kind of people they wanted to target with, but they were also using a certain group of people to target this other certain group of people.
Right.
But it's actually ridiculous because it's all races are involved, you know, and people just need to look at the facts instead of what's on the TV. And people
Right.
watching us know, we know better. I just can't believe they're still doing this stuff though.
They're scared.
I mean, you saw it. Did you see anything real about it?
I haven't seen your video yet. I
Oh,
mean,
you haven't seen it?
I found, no, just before I turned on play, I just saw it on my phone, but I haven't watched it yet. No, because I was working all morning. But when I turned on my computer this morning to check my email and everything, it was just all that was on YouTube. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to ask Andrew about it because he lives there and he can just tell me. But I remember when a thing like this happened in New Zealand, and there was a video that came out. I'm trying to be real careful here. There was a video that came out about it that supposedly was taken from a GoPro on the shooter's hat or helmet or whatever. And you could see unequivocally that he was using one of those pieces of equipment that you use when you're doing like different kinds of target practice demoing, not a real piece of equipment that you are using for a specific type of hunting or anything like that. I mean, it was unequivocal. And you mentioned, and that's what you bring up in your video, that it was one of those same pieces of equipment.
Yeah, and we could probably play the sound, but they might ding on it, so we probably don't want to play the sound for people because they could look it up on their own.
Right, it's all over. Like the whole top line of my YouTube page was like all about that.
But the key thing is the sound is a dead giveaway because the shooter used a camera, and it was on his person.
Oh, the same way.
So
okay.
He was right next to what was going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how can you mistake it for anything but the sound of something other than what they're saying he used? I mean, you cannot mistake it.
It would have been so loud. It would have been so loud, as opposed to that kind of piece of equipment that like you can buy at Walmart. Yeah.
People don't realize why a bullet is so loud. It goes supersonic. It breaks the speed of sound like a whip. A whip actually goes supersonic as well. That's how it makes that whipping noise. So there's a big difference between using something fake and using something real, which is easy to see. And my video is over almost 800 right now on BitChute. So that's going viral. I expect it to hit around 20-30,000.
Oh, I'm looking to see what your views are on Rumble.
Hi guys.
Oh,
I put that up for subs only on Rumble. So if you follow me on Rumble, you can still get the video there, but they took the original one down.
oh, you told me about that. You told me about that. When you put something up and you say subs only, it uploads really fast. That's interesting. So anybody maybe that likes to put up stuff that could potentially get them in trouble, that's a good thing to know.
I think Rumble should be in trouble because what's the difference if public can see it or if only my subscribers can see it? I mean,
I don't know.
It's up on Rumble now.
So I wanted to ask, you and I have talked about how, let me figure out a way to talk about this. I used to work in theater when I lived in New York City. I worked in theater, and there's all kinds of things that you have when you work in theater. And sometimes you have these appliances where you have to fake an injury, and you have these things that you can hit and they break and it oozes. I'm trying so carefully here. I know I haven't seen your video yet, but is there something about that type of thing? Because to me, that is so freaking obvious. the real sanguinity of our circulatory fluids don't look like stuff that you make out of cornstarch and dye. So is that something that you touch in on that video? Have you seen that? Yeah, like when it was New York, it was so obvious that that was not real oozing.
Well, the only video I've seen so far is the 11 seconds they released from the perspective of the person doing it. So I have to look into it more, but I assume they had bottles and bottles of fake things. You know, how else do you pull off false things?
Right. And all the choreography involved. Again,
Yep.
something I know a little bit about.
It kills me though, the people who have positions of power who know these things are going on and they're okay with it.
Well, right. But so now, beyond what we know about Kathy Hochul and whatever, whatever's going on nationally, is there something specific in that county or even specific in New York that you feel that this is hinging upon, that it was done strategically, or is it just kind of the general overall narrative?
People should realize that Hochul is from Western New York. She was Hamburg Town Supervisor, which is I live in Orchard Park. That's where my house is, but 2 doors away is the town of Hamburg. So I pay school taxes in Hamburg, and my mailing address is in Hamburg. So she was Hamburg Town Supervisor for years, and Hamburg has a Nike base, which is a base from the 60s where they kept nuclear missiles.
Oh.
And I assume it has an underground of some sort. And last year, I saw them doing all kinds of work there with traffic cones and JFK Jr. Yep, JFK Jr. said, watch out for the cones. And I saw this last year. And he started telling us about this about 4 or 5 months ago. He said, watch for the cones. So I think that's been going on for a while now. He said they're using the Nasera Jacera money to do this in the background so they can get everything cleaned up, the really bad places. So I think it's really coincidental. I don't have anything I can point to, but why would she end up governor? It's like weird. She's not a special person. Nobody liked her.
Nobody likes it. Well, yeah. I used to live in California, and I left the year that Gavin stole the mayorship of San Francisco. I left that year. I moved to DC, and yeah, he didn't win that. I'm just here to say he did not win that. But anyway, is there anything in either local legislation or state legislation that this is like specific to, or you think it's just general narrative? Is like, do you have a bill or something that's being proposed in New York that might have something to do with these kinds of pieces of equipment?
Well, there might be something going on in the background. I'm sure they always have something going on when they're pulling something like that. You know what I mean? They like when Jussie Smollett was doing fake things, they had a bill for anti-lynching bill they wanted passed, so I'm sure there's something behind their malarkey.
Yeah, interesting. Just thinking the way my brain works. Like, I'm just like, that's why I asked you about the grocery store. Is there something about that particular grocery store company? And you're like, no, it's the neighborhood, but that's just how I think.
Well, I know Buffalo. I used to be a wheelchair van driver around the city.
Oh.
So I know the city and I know the whole area.
Right.
I was the only person who was smart enough to buy a map and use it. So they could send me somewhere and I'd get there and back,
And that dates our age. before this was a map. We know
Mhm.
how to read maps. Yes,
Mhm.
because we're old. All right, well, I don't want to talk any more about that. I mean, I knew as soon as I saw all the la-di-da about it, just on my YouTube homepage, that it was a false. I knew that.
Yeah, and
So thank you.
they're
Thank you
making
for
a big
that confirmation. It was a strategic play.
they're making a
So
big deal out of it by having people go meet with the victims. Who does that?
wait, what? Talk
They're
more
having
about that.
they're having a go meet the victim thing over where this happened. The
At the
families,
store?
yeah, the families are over there receiving.
Oh my
This is
God.
what I was just told. I didn't know. I don't watch the local
That's
news.
gross.
Yeah, they're making a huge deal out of it. And they're trying to play this up to their advantage, because they're losing. They got nothing else.
Super. Yeah. That's just gross. That's just absurdity. But let's go to something that's good to talk about that I know is interesting to you. And you recently drove to Pittsburgh, right?
No, I'm
To
about to.
okay. Okay. Um, you're going to drive to Pittsburgh to is it a conference?
Yeah, it's a
Or
3-day seminar with David Straight.
okay, talk about that because that's cool.
I can't wait to meet him. He I can't really say a lot about it right yet because it hasn't happened yet. But I believe he was involved in taking us back to a Republican government. On the legal side of it, I think he was part of the team who is bringing our legal system back under control because the bar has it absolutely insane right now. And I once had a huge complaint against a member of the bar. I went and filed the complaint, and it turned out he was the president. So, how far do you think my complaint got?
Oh wow.
I never even got an answer. So, this is how they are. We got to get rid of the bar. And their own bar members don't even know. Because I was on a Zoom.
No.
No, they don't. I was on a Zoom with Divide New York. I'm the only journalist in the world who will work with this group called Divide New York. They're actual elected senators in the state of New York who are trying to split Albany off from controlling all of New York by making it into 3 autonomous zones. And I was on a Zoom with them, and I was trying to tell them how the lawyers have corrupted America and captured our system by the bar. And the lawyer, there was one of them was a lawyer. He went off on me. I'm like, no, you are wrong. You need to do some research. And he never got back to me, but I should follow up with him on that because he's sadly mistaken. Anybody that thinks the bar is helping our country is sadly mistaken, right?
So what? Tell me. See, I just did that like boing because I just did a video about one of the as I call them reset architect inheritors. One of the guys in New Orleans, one of the big guys in New Orleans, and at some point, that's what happened. Is New Orleans was divided into 3 distinct, separate municipalities based on race and religion, and so that they're trying to do that there. It's like, what's the basis? What's the basis for the proposed designation?
Oh man, I don't know.
Is it socioeconomic, racial? Like when it was in New Orleans, it was the American, the not even American, the Caucasian part of town, which became known as the American part of town, and then the French part of town, which was the French Quarter, and then the people of color part of town. So it was the Garden District, the French Quarter, and the Faubourg Marnier. And they were each three, so it was racial.
Yeah.
Is that what they're trying to do in that's the proposed in New Orleans, New York too? Or is it racial?
Probably. Yeah. Buffalo, the area, Western New York, excuse me, they used to have this big long running crime spree called the 22 caliber killer. And this went on for years, where this racially motivated person would just go murder someone anonymously and get away with it. But they finally caught him. And it was somebody in the army. I think it was a psyop.
Sounds like it.
Because this happened in the 70s.
22.
That 22 caliber killer, he used a 22 caliber gun to do it.
Got to get pretty close.
Yeah, and that's the thing that tied it all together, was this racially motivated murders were being pulled out in this area by someone of a certain color against other people of certain colors. And they've been doing that for years around here, just for a long time. It's really getting old.
Wow. I've only been to Buffalo. Well, I've been through Buffalo many times because I used to go up to Toronto for work all the time. And sometimes I would fly into Buffalo and then I would just take the train up to Toronto because that's such a nice way to do it. But I've really only hung out in Buffalo one time, and that was many years ago when I moved to the East Coast, and I went to the one time I went to the falls. And I just remember it being, as we have shared, an unbelievably beautiful city.
Oh yeah.
Just full of Tartarian architecture. Of course, I didn't know what that all was then, but just like majestic, beautifully majestic city. And I've been to Albany one time. When I lived in New York City, I just took the train up to Albany just for the hell of it. And I don't remember, it didn't seem like a very exciting city to me, but Buffalo was just stunning to me, just stunning.
Yeah, I always loved Buffalo's architecture. There was something strange about it though. Looking at Buffalo City Hall, it looks so strange. You know, even in the interior of that building is really strange. But there is something strange about buildings. I will say, I used to have a job in Detroit years ago in 79, 80.
Oh my God, you lived in Detroit.
Yeah, I was an electrician. And I worked on those buildings there, and they were strange because all of the doors were so much taller, and they don't even make them in that size anymore.
Right.
You know, so when you go to redo a building like that, everything's different than they used. And it's like, well, how do you explain all that? You know, and they were so well made compared to today. I mean, they had me ripping out these plaster cast walls that were about this thick, and they were a really solid, beautiful wall. And I had to take a sledgehammer to knock these down and then put in new walls with smaller doors for our size people, you know. And it's just strange to think about why everything was so much bigger than it is now. You know, were we any bigger a few years ago? It wasn't that long ago supposedly these buildings were built, you know. And in Detroit they had the strictest building codes. You would not believe how strict they were. Every piece of electricity in a Detroit building has to be done a certain way. And the strictest that I ever worked under. So it took the longest, you know what I mean?
But that's good, right? I mean,
Yeah, but I was struck by how well it was made, and we had to take out these good walls and put
like
up
this.
these cheap metal ones. We were using metal studs and pieces of sheetrock,
Oh my God.
which can't even compare to a solid built wall made out of solid blocks, you know? So I always thought that was strange.
Well, we're supposed to believe this is inside a star fort in Florida, Fort Clinch. It's on the St. Mary's River, so it's the river that demarcates the top of Florida from the bottom of Georgia. We're supposed to believe that this was built during the Civil War.
Where'd
Look
they
at
get all
that.
the
Look
bricks?
at that. Look at that.
Who was working at the brick factory while they were fighting the war?
Look at the sophistication of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, during the Civil War that was built. Huge star fort. But anyway, yeah. Inheritors and a lot of false story nonsense. Yeah, but I really like Pittsburgh when I visited there too. I thought that was a gorgeous city. And of course, they had a star fort there. I can't remember the name of the point where the Monongahela and is it the Allegheny and the Monongahela? No,
I think
it's
so.
the
Isn't it
Monongahela.
Ohio?
Is it the Allegheny, the Monongahela that become the Ohio? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
I think that's what it is.
So at that point there, fort, whatever it is, was a star fort. There's a little bit left of it there. That was a really powerful place. But I love that city. I thought it was beautiful. I just like bridges because I grew up in a bridge town. So cool. So David Strait, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. I'm looking forward to what you have to say about that. And I think Sarge just went to see him because he put some stuff up recently. I don't know. Do you follow Icons?
I haven't lately.
Hmm.
I have a hard time finding his channel.
Oh, he might be shadow banned. He's a big mouth like you are, even more so. But he put some stuff up. I guess because David Strait's all over. He's not just, he goes to different places. So, and I don't know where Sarge lives, but I think that he was near him and he put up some stuff from that. And I think that's why I was thinking that you had already gone to Pittsburgh because I saw that stuff that Sarge put up. So what do you think of the biggest distraction we've got that isn't working very well? And maybe because this distraction isn't working, maybe that's why that grocery store incident happened. Johnny Depp.
Oh my God. That's some crazy, crazy stuff.
So funny. I mean, me personally, I think it's completely scripted on purpose. First of all, that is not the same woman. If the woman that he has all these pictures of having his arm around years ago, the woman in there now, that's not even her. That's not even the same woman. There is not enough plastic surgery that could make that be the same woman.
No, probably not.
And it's so, I mean, when Johnny Depp was testifying, he just seemed like Johnny Depp to me. Like he was just being Johnny Depp. And I thought he was being honest. I'm not coming in with any judgment either way. People believe what they believe about Johnny Depp and his use of substances. And I'm not even going there. It's just like he seemed authentic when he was speaking. He seemed like himself, like at least the Johnny Depp that we have seen but it's like, first of all, that's not her. And then second of all, who wrote that script for her? Because it's ridiculous. I mean, she's obviously lying. And I don't have TikTok and I'm not on social media beyond Telegram. So I don't see what people are saying. But on YouTube, people do compilations of different TikTok and things where people are spoofing her. It's like nobody believes her. it's so obviously scripted. And then the whole funny thing was when she posed for someone to take a picture of her blowing her nose after she
Oh,
had cried. It's just, I mean, to me, it's like, what do you call it? It's a white hat thing. The whole thing's a white hat thing to me.
it probably is. The thing that makes me wonder what's going on is Johnny Depp has so many questionable friends, and they do so many questionable things. All they got to do is bring up his relationship with certain people. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
their drinking activities. We don't even have to say what they're drinking because it's not a nice thing.
Yeah, I'm not going into any of that. I mean,
No, but
and
if they wanted to tear that guy a new butthole, why don't they just show what he does with his friends? I mean,
or well, what he certainly has done with his friends. But you know, I appreciate, I'll have to say, however a person feels about any of that, I think he's very honest about what he's done. You know, he's honest about the fact that he could really put it back, really could drink a lot, and really could consume a lot of opioids and all that stuff. And um, I don't remember who said this. It might have been Terra by Janine. I think she did a reading on it or something, or more than one person has mentioned how people got a hold of him and basically said, look, this can go one of two ways. You can go away now, or you can work with us to help elevate the awareness in people through these scripted acts. And that's kind of what I thought all along was going on, especially when you started seeing Amber Heard. It was like, what? So ridiculous. So, I mean, I think it's hilarious. I think it's supposed to be hilarious on purpose to awake people up, because some people are still oblivious. But that's just how I feel about it. I mean, I just think it's funny, and it's supposed to be funny.
I wonder if some of these people are going to wake up at all. I mean, you could hand them a script and and they might not even read it, you know?
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw it, but someone was, you know how people will just walk out into a park and start interviewing people and stuff. And I don't remember what was going on because there are so many things that are going on, but this was fairly recent, but someone was like on Venice Beach or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
California. And they happen to walk up to this couple, you know, and they've got the microphone and the cameraman, and they're just interviewing people on the street about this topic. And I don't even remember what topic it was. But I remember the people were, I'd say the people, they were very healthy California looking people. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I'd say they were in their early 50s, but you know how healthy California people look, right?
Right.
Not like us. I didn't look like that when I lived there. Um, but something the woman said was, if there's anything that we learned from George Floyd, it was to really be aware of our impact and our racial heritage, or something like that. And I remember seeing that and yeah, you're laughing. I remember thinking, wow, lady, you're not going to transition very well.
No, she hasn't seen George Floyd's tattoos.
Oh my God. And I'm not trying to like pick on one person, but that to me was just like what you were saying. Like there are some people that are not going to, they're not, there is so much dynamic structuring of mindset, and like there's no room in their thinking for all of that. So we can both talk about our experiences with whatever you want to call it, beings that we see in the sky, or what people call Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We can both talk about that a little bit. We both
Yeah,
have experiences there.
I have a short video where I showed pictures of Bigfoot footprints that I took on 2/22/2020. I found a line of Bigfoot footprints in the snow near my house.
Is it
That's,
still up? You sent it to
yep,
me, but is it still up?
yep,
Good.
yep. It's
That's
still
on
up.
Rumble?
Yeah, it's up on
Cool.
Rumble. I have it on all of them. They took away 500 views off of it though.
Hey, I got unsubbed from you. Remember I told you that? I
Yeah.
was like, because I thought you were sick or something, because I wasn't getting the pings that you were having new videos. And I went and I looked, and you had put out all these videos. And I was like, I'm unsubscribed.
Yep. People have been telling me that for weeks now, and it's disgusting. They're acting just like YouTube.
Do you think that that's based on, had you hit a pinnacle? Like, I know if you get 100,000 views, they start on YouTube. I've heard that they'll start knocking you down. So was it based on a pinnacle number, or you think it's just your content?
It could be because some of my videos are at almost 20,000 views. So it's not that my videos are unpopular, so they might have something to do with that, or it might be the content. I've been
Interesting.
marked for years, though. I mean, Facebook marked me, Twitter marked me. They both deleted me, so I went back to them. I'm everywhere I should be, but it's awful the way they pick on us. It's got to stop. And now True Social's going over to use Rumble. So I had to warn President Trump about that.
Oh yeah, talk about that. You said he responded, or somebody responded to you.
Yeah, they said they're looking into the matter.
How did you contact him?
You just go to his webpage and then hit contact.
Oh,
Search for Donald Trump.
cool.
He has a contact there. It works good too.
I don't have Apple, so I don't think I have access to it yet.
No,
Isn't
it's his webpage. Anybody
Oh,
can get on there.
oh. But I
Anybody
mean,
can get on there. It's
True
not True
Social, I
Social.
can't. True Social, I don't have access to it yet because I don't have Apple products. But didn't you tell me about, and I know you'll have to correct me on the details, but because you just recently were talking about you and a friend were out doing something and you had an experience of something different in the sky, and then you had like heightened extrasensory
ESP.
skills after that. Yeah.
Yeah, heightened ESP. We saw a UFO 5 or 6 nights in a row, and the last night it sent probes down into the water, and then we had this weird telepathic connection where we both saw the same image of like the tree of life, and we saw it. We didn't even have to talk about seeing it because it's like we knew. So when we get our abilities back, it's going to be amazing, because I don't know if it was from seeing the UFO or what. Something caused that to happen, you know?
And this happened when you were a much younger man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, that's I mean, I like you go out and you do prayers into the water, and I also go out and do, you could call prayers into the water, and people that watch my channel or whatever know that I will go to sites where there's been a lot of slaughter, which this whole area is
Mhm.
bones, and do different kinds of in simple terms, energy work and channeling and ceremonial types of things. I have a couple good friends who are elders in Creek and Lakota traditions, and we'll go and we'll bring different indigenous traditions of ceremony to certain places. We've done a lot of stuff at the big St. Augustine Star Fort, Castillo San Marcos, because of course there was just an unbelievable amount of indigenous slaughter there. But I've been recently, I don't know how to say this, what we call the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch have made themselves known to me. And it's not like I don't see them like this, right? It's, I see them in that perceptive way, or I see their aura energetically. And they also give me information, a lot of information, like downloads, like I'll be given information to go to a place and do a certain kind of ceremonial work or prayer, and I'll go there and I'll do that work, and then they're there and they start communicating with me, and the communication comes in. I hate to call it light language, because it doesn't sound like light language. It sounds like throat singing, or that's kind of what it sounds like a lot of the time, and it only happens there, and it's not something that I can like channel into and reproduce, and it's completely incomprehensible to me. Like, I don't know, I hear and feel these tones and frequencies and sensations, and I'll be given direction, like maybe to go over to this body of water and perform this type of ceremony there. And then I don't ever like have like this cognizant translation of the information they gave me. Sometimes they have me do actually essentially like Reiki on the trees, or certainly on the water, put gifts into the water. But what happens is the next day or the next week, there are parts of me that are awakened from it, like what you speak of, just incredibly awakened, whether it's having enhanced manifesting skills or incredible perceptiveness, just understanding. But I mean, I think that is the transition. That is the awakening. You're open to that or you're not, right? You receive it or you don't. You're aware. And I mean, like when it happens to me, like I was at Fort Caroline the other day, the Star Fort, Fort Caroline, and I was getting blinding downloads of it. I mean, my head felt like it was boiling. And I'm glad that I understood what it was, because I'm going to sneeze.
I hate that.
Sorry.
All right. I get that all the time. I'll have to stop a video and sneeze.
Sorry. I'm glad that I understood what it was, because it really, really, really was painful. And if I didn't understand what was going on, I would have been scared, like, oh my God, am I having a stroke? You know, it was insane. Yeah, that's what happens. Or like, I remember months ago, many months ago, I was starting to get, and you can talk about this too, because I think you've had something like this happen to you too, where you were getting physical upgrades, right?
Yeah.
There was a period of time where I thought I was having a heart attack every night, because what was happening is like every acupuncture meridian was lighting up, like it had been plugged into a wall socket. And that's what it felt like. Like, you know, my whole large intestine meridian just lit up. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on in my arm? right? It went through my whole body that way. And again, if I hadn't have known what was going on, I mean, I understood okay, these are upgrades because the magnetic forces of the planet and all the ether around it are changing, and they're upgrading because the light is upgrading. And so we have to upgrade or we won't make it. We won't be able to exist in the upgraded, like a computer, right? Like if you have to get the software upgrades for your system to run or nothing works. Well, we're the same way. The environment that we're in is upgrading and changing magnetically, frequency wise. And those of us that are aware of that are being upgraded. So maybe we're aware of not wanting certain things to eat or drink anymore, right? Don't you find that that's big time?
Oh yeah, I just reduced my food intake quite a bit. I'm down at eating just barely what I need. I'm just not hungry like I used to be.
I am I don't want potatoes anymore. I don't want rice, and I love those things, but I don't want them. I cook them, I eat them, I have them. I cook them and I eat them, and it's like, that's so unsatisfying. I just like fruit. I just want to eat fruit all the time. And like this morning, I worked this morning. I had a client this morning. I got up, I had a big papaya. I made a cup of coffee. I ate my whole papaya, and that's really what I wanted. And then I went and worked on her, and I worked on her for several hours. And I'm still not hungry. And all I ate was a papaya and a cup of coffee. I've been drinking a lot of water, but it's kind of, if I eat, it's kind of like because I'm thinking I should eat. But honestly, if I don't eat, I'm fine. And a lot of people will tell you that the ancestors that built all those big buildings, right? The Tartarians or the Hyperboreans or the Moors or whatever you want to call them, those high dimensional beings who are what Sasquatch is, right? Didn't eat. They lived on the ether. And actually, I know, like, for instance, here, you've got lots of big Tartarian buildings there in Buffalo, but the most famous Tartarian building here outside the Star Fort in St. Augustine is the Flagler College, which used to be the Ponce de Leon Hotel. It didn't have any bathrooms.
What?
Didn't have any bathrooms.
Wow.
Huge property. I mean, it's a college now. But that's in the bullcrap story of it. Henry Flagler built this palatial hotel that people would sail across the pond for, or take their trains down from the Northeast to winter in Florida. Palatial. And it's beautiful inside. You've seen pictures. It's beautiful inside, but there were no bathrooms.
Wow. How did they explain that? I mean,
well, if you read the narrative, and that's true of the hotel that he supposedly built across the street, the Alcazar, as well, there were no bathrooms. The story being that at the time, so in the late 1880s, people didn't think that they needed a bathroom in their room. So if you had enough money to get on the train and bring your family down to this elite hotel, if you were used to living that way, so are we supposed to believe then that those guys, the robber barons, wherever they lived in their homes, Andrew Carnegie, the Rockefellers, they didn't have bathrooms in their houses? Well, that's what we're supposed to believe. That's what they want us to believe. And then there was a point where in both hotels, both the Ponce de Leon and the Alcazar, were supposed to believe that they realized that the public had changed about that and that they expected to be able to go to the bathroom in their room. And so they had to do some reconstruction, and they had to, well, it cut down room size. And apparently that's part of why he opened the Alcazar across the street, because the amount of rooms that he lost by having to plumb them really created a problem. And so he needed to build the other hotel across the street to make up for what he had lost by having to plumb. But that nonsense aside, that's not the only place, that's not the only Tartarian building where that has been the case. There are several examples where there were no bathrooms. And of course, well, like the pyramids in Egypt and all the buildings around the pyramids were healing, sonic healing centers, right? That's what these were too. That supposed Frank Lloyd Wright building, not that you shared, that was a healing center. Remember, we found it had a pipe organ in it. It was
the Larkin Center, the Larkin building.
Yeah, it was a Tartarian, Hyperborean, Moorish, whatever you want to call it, healing center. But so knowing that these higher beings, higher evolved, higher dimensional beings that built these, there were no bathrooms because they didn't eat.
It makes me wonder about the term water closet too, because a lot of bathrooms, old bathrooms, were just wholly inadequate, and like they put them in closets because they weren't normally in a building. You know, it's weird that term water closet.
Well, or French squat toilets, right? Turkish toilets. I remember when I went to Paris, 1980. I hung out in the older parts of town because I like old things. And I had a bathroom in my, well, I had a shared bathroom on a hostel sort of situation. But many of the restaurants in that neighborhood had, you know, whatever you want to call it, the Turkish toilet where you literally squat. It's a hole in the ground, and it's just you just.
I've never seen anything like that.
You haven't really?
No, I've seen pictures of things like that, but I've never come across using it.
It's like an outhouse.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's weird. If you've never seen a toilet like that, it's super bizarre.
Yeah. So you just go in there and squat and pee or poop or do your thing. Yeah. It's like an outhouse, but they're nice. I mean, there were a couple restaurants in the neighborhood that I went into that, you know, like you call it diner, you know, and they were nice. It was like brick floor. And then where you squatted, there were like these places that were tile that was rough. So, oh, my sheet just fell down. Tiles that were rough, so your feet didn't slip when you were getting your squat on. Yeah, it was so cool, you know. And there was toilet paper, but you know how like you sit in the toilet paper and the toilet paper, so the toilet paper roll was really low on the floor because you're squatting. I mean, I'm squatting right now. You're squatting. It was cool. Yeah. After the fact, right? The buildings weren't built with anything like that. Or so often the plumbing is outdoors. Like the plumbing for if they had running water for the kitchen, it's internal plumbing. But older houses, really older houses, the bathroom plumbing's all outside because it was added after the fact, right? Because there are houses, old, and we've got them here. There are old houses that are as old as all that those elite hotels and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent because that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, I think that 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 frequency change and upgrade is is the awakening, really. I mean, that's what I think, you know. People who can't make these changes are going to have a hard time, a really hard time.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the Bible is a technical manual to reverse what they've done to us. So it's being used to undo what was done to us. And now they have all of the books of the Bible. So we're really going to be dangerous now.
You know, I've done a lot of research on that over the years. When that stuff started to be, when the other books started being made available, I remember when the book of Q came out. That was 1998, 1999. I remember that's when I had my hands on it. I worked at a bookstore at the time, so I had access to a lot of stuff, and I totally took advantage of it. But yeah, but I mean, what we know is not even scratching the surface. There's so much more that we don't know about. There's so much more that's going to come out. But I mean, now you tell me what you think about this. I mean, in terms of the whole concept of the anthropomorphism or the ego around the concept of, oh, I work with the ETs, or I work with Sasquatch, or something like that, right? Like, to me, and I know that there's different kinds of Sasquatch, like there's different breeds of horses, you know. And I think that they operate at different densities, because I see different kinds of ones all the time, and they represent themselves in different ways. Just like some people are going to laugh, but I see the dragons. The dragons are everywhere, but I don't see them like this, right? I'm aware of their energy. I see their energetic signature, and they and the extraterrestrials, or whatever you want to call them, they cloak in frequency fences, but they also cloak within the clouds in the sky, or the landscape. And it's not, I get really frustrated when people are like going on and on about how they're so special or something because they see ETs, right? No, it has nothing to do with you and your ego. They're there. What's changed is your frequency has raised so that you're able to see them. They're not picking you and saying, oh, here's a gift for you, you're so special. Do you know what I'm saying? They're there. They've always been there, but they were cloaked because they had to be.
Well, I got a picture of one.
Cool.
Oh, it's disabled. Screen sharing's disabled again.
Oh, because we had to start over.
Yeah.
Multiple participants. Let's see if that worked.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I got it right here. See what people think about it. It's a really cool picture. It looks like a dragon. Look at it right here.
Yeah, that's a good. Did you take that?
No, my friend did. She talks to them.
That's a good
There's
one.
an angel on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I see the angel too.
And it almost looks like it's pulling a bow. But this is what I did with it. I did a side-by-side with the Treo.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
And the
no, that's
dragon.
beautiful.
Because as soon as she showed me, I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. This is over Dunkirk, New York. 2 years ago.
I was talking to a friend out kind of in a real open area about this, and she's a person who is being activated, and it's a little confusing to her, and that's happening to so many people right now, because as you get activated, your ego is peeled away, and some people don't want to let go of their ego, or they don't understand how to let go of their ego in a healthy way. So there's a lot of confusion. So she's being activated, and it's confusing to her. And we were talking about extrasensory stuff and dragons. And I was saying, just driving over here today, she lives about an hour away from me, just driving over here today through the open woods. I mean, the skies were full of dragons and of ships, or whatever you want to call them. And I was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh, I really wish that I could see them." And I said, "You can. They're here, but you have to let go of your cognitive dissonance and see what's there instead of seeing what you believe you see."
Yeah, and be receptive to it.
Yeah. And just when I was saying that, I got like this right in my head, and I looked up, and there was a dragon in the clouds right above us. And I swear to God, it manifested in the clouds right in front of us, right? And I was like, oh, look up. It was for her, right? And she looked up, and she was like, and then it went by, and then it was the coolest thing. It was so cool. But that's all it took, right? She needed someone to explain to her, it's not that you're not chosen. You have the capacity to see. You just have to allow it to be seen to you, and more importantly, to not have all these structures around, well, it's a cumulus cloud. No, no, it's not. Well, we could go on and on about that forever. Is there anything that you want to, you've got screen share, is there anything that you want to, I worked this morning, so I don't even know what's going on in the world, but is there anything that you want to talk about? I know you pull up your Telegram page a lot and talk about stuff. Is there anything that you want to share while we're here?
Well, I don't want my video card to bring down your video, so we better not show you what that looks like. Oh my God. I do have these other things though that I think might be okay.
Okay, anything you want to share?
Let's see if we can get away with it or not. I'll just not say what they are, but this is from a couple years ago around this area. And if people remember what happened a couple years ago, it was pretty dastardly. Somebody faked something with fake things.
Yeah.
And they made fake things happen, and they are climate people.
Yeah, that was the Buffalo. Was it the Albany or the Buffalo SWAT team? One of them.
It was the Buffalo police. And they are not so nice people. This is them in the background. So
yeah, I remember that. I totally remember that.
Those are kind of things that happen around here, and they happen in other cities too. They might have happened in your town. You might have had something go down.
We have different things. It's a college town. It's a liberal arts college town, and it's still Florida. So we have different things.
So Florida was quite divided at one time, huh?
Well, it still is. I mean, it South Florida. There are people down there where Trump lives that hate him. Those people that live in those inheritors mansions and things.
My own mother was racist, and I never understood why. I guess people were racist years ago. They fought for all the lies, right?
My parents were too, but
My father wasn't, not at
they
all.
they just they didn't. I mean, there are times in people's evolution. I mean, if I never blamed them for being racist. They just didn't. That's all they knew. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they'd never had an opportunity. Things were divided then. You know, I'm 62, so I grew up in the 60s. So things were so divided then. And it was very easy to just live in your bubble. And they did. And it was only when things like, for instance, I remember I had a friend in, I don't remember what grade it was, young, when you have a friend come over and spend the night, right? So
Mm-hmm.
little, you know, elementary school age. And she, her mother was Native American and her dad was Black. And she looked like a dark-skinned Native American. Her dad was a lawyer, her mom was a doctor. These were very successful, very educated people. And I asked my mom, you know, can she come over after school? You know, so you ride the bus, she gets off the bus with you, you know, and dinner. But then my mother announced after dinner that she couldn't spend the night because she was not going to have some NIG sleeping in her sheet.
Your mother said that? That sounds like something my mother would have said. And I tried to talk her out of being like that, but she wouldn't listen to me. My mother would say something in public and embarrass the hell out of me. She would use a term like black as a
Oh,
baby's
oh,
ass
I
out in
see.
public. And it's like, Ma, stop talking like that. She she
My
did that to
green
me a few
screen
times.
collapsed. My green screen collapsed.
Yes, it still works though. We can still see your bricks.
Yeah, but I'm ghosted out.
Yeah, you are ghosting.
That's why on some Zoom calls that I'm on, they call me Ghost because I have this really high tech. It's a sheet taped to the wall. There.
There you go.
Um, yeah, but so you know, I was young when that happened. You know, I don't know what grade, but you know, elementary school. When you have friends come over, you're in elementary school. You know, you're little. Um, yeah. Um, she just didn't. She. It was the community they lived in. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
and things were so different then. And if Walter Cronkite didn't say it, it wasn't true, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean, it was just a different world, but
My mother
anyway.
suffered through something horrific where World War II started and my grandpa went off to the war. He joined the Navy immediately.
Hmm.
And my grandmother took the kids and put them in a home and ran off with some guy. So,
Wow.
and it was a Catholic home. And we all know what goes on in those Catholic homes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And then
horrible.
my son and I found this diary from an ex-Erie County sheriff, and my son found payments of $600 to this home in the 1930s.
Wow.
So what do you think they was giving this home $600 for? You know, we don't have to say these things. We know. You know, people in our community know. And I was flabbergasted when my son found that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then to think my own mother was stuck in there for 4 years. They didn't get out till my grandpa got out of the war. If he had died, they would have stayed in there. And God knows what went on in those places.
Right,
Those
right.
people just lost how much money because of what they got caught doing in those places. You know what I mean? So this is something upsetting in my life that I've had to deal with, because it's way deeper than that. I could go on for weeks about this, but
No,
I
no,
won't.
no, I understand.
I
I
won't.
understand. Yeah.
I won't. It just triggers me thinking about stuff like that. You know, the Catholic Church.
Yeah. No, the woman that I called her grandma when I was little, but she wasn't my grandma. She was the woman that lived next door. I grew up out in the country on a farm, and there was a compound of houses. Her husband had worked on the farm before. It was a generational farm. There was granddad, and then there were the sons, and my dad was one of those sons. And so anyway, I called her grandma, and she lived to be 100, but she had grown up in Hawaii when it was still called the Cook Islands, and
Oh,
she
wow.
was an orphan. And she, of course, I was little, but because, well, I was adopted too. I was adopted when I was 3 days old. But so sometimes we would talk about that. She would talk about, she was an orphan too, and she was adopted, but she remembers being in this orphanage and everything changing when Captain Cook came and did what he did.
That's a weird story.
I wish that I could go back and talk to her now. You know what I mean? Because now I could listen and hear and comprehend what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, your mom.
Yeah, and they actually came out with somebody who wasn't even related to them, as my grandfather adopted one of their friends because they didn't want to leave without him. So one of my uncles, I didn't find out till years later, that one of my uncles wasn't really my uncle. He was just somebody they were in the home with, and when my grandfather came to get them, they wouldn't leave without him.
That's beautiful. I love that.
And he ended up having a great life because my grandfather helped him out. He ended up becoming a sub captain in California and
Oh,
stuff like
wow.
that. So he went into the Navy himself. And it's a weird
Cool.
story. I know. I didn't even know this stuff when I was a kid, though. My mother didn't tell me till later on.
Well, yeah, because when we're little, we don't really. But like this woman that I call grandma, I'm not going to say her name, but this woman that I call grandma, she and I, like, without telling me that she was teaching me stuff, she was teaching me like extrasensory stuff. We would just hang out. She would say, "Oh, let's walk to the river," right? And then she would give me all these downloads. I didn't know what was going on. I just know I felt differently. And then the next day I knew things. But who knows? I mean, was that because she was Caucasian too? She grew up in Hawaii, but she was Caucasian. But so you wonder, is that because she, in her most vulnerable years, she lived in an indigenous culture, right? Did that
Could
have
be.
something to do with it?
I
Or
would
was it,
bet it does.
or was it because of her childhood was so horrendous that sometimes people who are really, really traumatized go in so deep that they tap into that stuff, or maybe it was a little bit of both. But yeah, as Stephen King talks about in The Shining, she taught me to shine, right?
Yeah. Wow.
She, without like telling me or teaching me anything, she just did it. She just would take me out. Let's go sit on the porch, and we'd sit on the porch for hours and hours and hours, but it would seem like a minute, and she would download all this stuff to me. Yeah, I wish I could talk to her now. Well, we've talked a long time. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, like from your Twitter or from your Telegram or anything else that you want to talk about before we scoot?
Well, my father found a bunch of bottles one time when they were building the 190, and it always made me wonder about this story of him finding these bottles. They claim that they
like
were
apothecary bottles?
No, water bottles and stuff like that, and they were all from the 1825 point in time. And the story is that all of these bottles ended up at the bottom of the Erie Canal in Buffalo. And I'm wondering, why would they fill in a canal, and bury these bottles? It just doesn't really make sense. I mean, these canals are big, they're wide, they're hard to dig.
Yeah,
And then if you're not going to use it anymore, sure, fill it in. But where are you going to get all the fill from? You know,
right.
where did you put it in the first place? I mean, it makes this whole Tartarian city thing even more crazy when you think about it, because he found bushels and bushels. He found more bottles than he could carry.
Mud flood, totally mud flood. I've been on the Erie Canal. I've taken a boat on the Erie Canal from New York Harbor all the way up to Quebec City. Well, through the Erie Canal and then across Lake Ontario and then up to St. Lawrence. So yeah, I've been on it on the inside, and there's some really, really old parts of the Erie Canal. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't understand that whole story. It just does not make sense to me why they would fill in sections of a canal. It just doesn't make any sense. And supposedly Buffalo was riddled with canals that were no longer useful. So they just
Yeah.
filled them in horse
Yeah.
and buggy days, right?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, they're here too. There's canals here too. But that's a whole nother thing. They were all appropriated and attributed to something that Henry Flagler did. Shill, carpetbagger thief that he was, with all that Rockefeller Standard Oil money. Inheritor.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
can't wait to learn the backstory on all that.
Oh, I think it's gonna go. Something was supposed to happen today. Did you get, there was something, somebody that does gematria or something, or some aligning of planetary stuff. Something big was supposed to happen today.
There's a
And
lunar eclipse.
well, okay, so there's that, but there were other astronomical factors involved that people were anticipating different kind of things could occur. There were some people that were talking about from a magnetic standpoint, and I'm kind of more frequency in magnetics than like, Jupiter or Mars or whatever. There was expectation that today was going to be a jaw drop day. Like there was going to be a big reveal that might be like a bitch slap reveal, not like a warm milk reveal. So, but I don't know. It's early. I mean, it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so there still could happen something. Or maybe it's going to be like, like we were talking about how you had your experience with the beings, and I've had my experiences with the beings, and it's not like, I mean, when it's happening, I just have a headache. But then afterwards, I wake up and I'm like totally upgraded. And maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe there's going to be a huge upgrade that shoots down through the magnetics of the eclipse, and people tomorrow morning will wake up and go, oh, I see.
That would
Who
be great.
knows? Yeah, I know.
It's
So
fake news. It's getting old. Go ahead.
so just if you guys see that on Andrew's screen there, Andrew Zebrun the third, that's the name of all his channels. So you're on, I didn't know you were on YouTube, but I guess you're kind of shadow banned. Rumble, Twitter, Telegram.
Brighteon.
Oh, you are on Brighteon.
Yep.
Okay. And BitChute?
Yeah, I'm an unlimited member over on Brighteon.
Oh, okay.
I'm at the highest tier.
Yay.
It's not that easy to get there. But I'm on Brighteon, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Cloud Hub, I'm on Gab TV, which is just another captured ghetto platform.
Yeah, I'm not on Gab anymore.
Yeah.
I was excited when Gab started, and then it was like, that's all. Well, I was excited when what was it called? The whole platform that got taken down.
Inked Social?
Well, no, I was never on Ink Social. I roll. Poor Kirsten.
I know.
No, the the other one, it doesn't matter. No, but the whole thing, Amazon took it down. And then I think it's back up, but a lot of people never went back. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah. Parlor.
Parlor, yeah, Parlor. And if you post, it was a parlay.
I'm on there too. I'm on Getter. I'm on Bastion. That's a new one.
I don't even know what that is.
Bastion. It's a peer-to-peer social media where there's no central server.
Oh,
So it's run on people's machines. And they have a P coin. It's some kind of a Bitcoin type thing.
mm.
And you buy and sell those P coins. And I'm on there.
That's interesting.
Yep, I like it. It's different. There's nice people on there. Bastion.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, Andrew, and catching up. And it was nice to just chat about. When do you leave for Pittsburgh?
The 19th.
Oh, okay.
So I'm there till the 22nd.
Cool. That's so exciting. I
I'm
can't
gonna
wait to hear
ask him about riding in the helicopter with JFK Jr.
that. Is it that intimate that you can he lets you guys just come up and talk to him? It's real
Yeah.
intimate like that?
You can watch his seminars online. There's a bunch of them. David Straight.
I guess I've only seen ones where like all you see is him. I don't see like interaction like that. But anyway, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I recommend people look him up. He is totally awesome.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's like if you have any cognitive dissonance, you won't when you're done talking to him, or it's going to push you over the edge because he just cuts right to the. He's like a Gordon Ramsay of truth or kind of stuff. He's just so accurate, but he's not emotional like Gordon Ramsay. He's just clear.
No, I think he did a lot behind the scenes, but we're gonna have to wait till the whole story comes out.
Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out with us today. This was a very different show for me. I'm working on my next two shows. I'm working on some of the canals and things that we were just talking about in Daytona Beach, Florida, what's left of them and what Flagler did to inherit and claim and manipulate all that magnificent Tartarian antiquitech that was there and what still remains, as well as another inheritor, ridiculous inheritor architect, the guy who drafted plans to rebuild BC and turn it into Egypt. So those are the things that I'm working on right now. So thank you everybody for hanging out, and thank you Andrew Zebrun III, who is on every freaking social media platform it seems like in the world. We're gonna scoot saying goodbye from Fort Clinch here under my fallen sheet. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all your coffees and comments and support, and thank you Melanie and Buffy and Michelle at Unguru, and we'll see you, Andrew and I will see you both soon. Aloha. This is
Bye,
Joyce
everybody.
at Medusa Was Framed saying ciao.
Bye.